Hey everyone, and welcome. It is the Monday Pricing Clinic, and we are talking to you, the photographer. Every Monday is my plan around 12:30 every Monday Eastern Standard Time. I am sharing ideas on pricing. And for those of you, and my apologies, who caught me earlier, I was doing my live stream for my marketing channel, and I did it here. So anyway, I had to redo it over on my marketing channel. That was rather embarrassing, to be quite honest. But for here, this channel, it's all about pricing your photography and making your photography business more profitable. And that's what we're talking about here. And we're talking about maybe some expenses that you haven't really thought about. And so I want you to put in the comments below, what are some of those expenses that you think maybe other photographers aren't thinking about, or maybe it took you a while to figure out? What are some of those expenses? Put those in the comments below. Let's have a conversation about that. But I want to share a few things that I think that a lot of times we forget about, because a lot of times we think we don't have any overhead. And we want to just think, especially when we get into photography the first time, we have our camera, we have our laptop, life's good. What else could we possibly need? Well, maybe some lenses down the road, and then some lighting, and then, yeah, it all gets rather expensive. Now, you can rent, and I know some excellent big-time photographers. All they do is rent. You can always get the top-of-the-line camera, and of course, the client will then pay for the rental as part of the expenses, and that is certainly something that you can do. Now, I think a lot of times we really don't thoroughly think about everything we're doing in post-production. Think about it. I mean, just even seeing the client, even pre-production, going to see the client and getting all those details together, preparing for the assignment, just calling people up if you need to pull in a stylist or even just an assistant and you need to call them, the time it takes to get a hold of them and set the schedule up, is that being paid for? And it should be. And then the post-production, the time that you spend editing, the time that you spend making the corrections or the style that you put into your photographs. What is that style? You have a specific style to your photographs in post-production. Is it time consuming? And how do you justify that cost? Are you justifying that cost? I mean, if you photograph weddings or you photograph fashion, whatever it may be, food, what is your workflow and how long does that workflow take to complete? So we often don't think about those things, and we need to incorporate those in our pricing. And if you say, why should the client, I hope you're not saying this, why should the client pay for it? Because that's how you stay in business, quite honestly. Otherwise, you're doing the work for free. I mean, we have to educate to a certain extent, at least ourselves, that a photography assignment is not the hour, 2 hours, or even 5 to 10 hours that we are on location. It is before and after that too. That is the complete assignment. Now, something I think a lot of people don't think much about is what about our equipment when it breaks? That's something that happens more than we would like to admit. And I come from a photojournalism background, and those of you who are in a photojournalism background know exactly what I'm saying. Equipment goes flying everywhere, and I would often joke. I would see other photographers in other studios who have these pristine cameras and everything is put away perfectly. I'm like, you're not a photographer. Your equipment's not even used. And so it's very, very common to see that for people who've come directly into, say, commercial photography. For people like me who've come out of photojournalism, our stuff's flying all over the place. It's very common, but things break. Things break. One time I had somebody, I just put my camera down on a bench, and it was for a volleyball game. And nobody was in there, but someone came flying around and stepped over my camera and kicked it. And the flash went flying off of it and broke. And they ran off. And before I knew what happened, I didn't know where they were. And so now I have a broken flash. Obviously I have to, this is film days, by the way. So There wasn't much I could do. I mean, it's volleyball. You really weren't supposed to do much in the way of flash anyway, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, this person broke my flash. And you never know what's going to happen. You can drop stuff. I've dropped lenses that were in the case, and they bent and they just didn't work right, and I had to send them out to get fixed. There are little things like that that are continuously happening to your equipment. Equipment needs to get upgraded. Computers need to get upgraded. Are you planning for that and thinking about that in your cost of doing business? All that needs to be considered in the process of understanding your business as a whole. Do you have insurance? Well, you probably need insurance, and many of us do not have the insurance that we need. There have been many times through ups and downs in my business, I was not covered the way I should be. So you need to make sure you're considering that. Consider all of the elements related to the cost of actually going on the assignment. Remember, you had to earn that client somehow. How did that happen? Was it a referral? Well, did you take the time to let people know you were a photographer and eventually somebody referred you? Or did you have an advertising campaign, a marketing campaign that got you there? That cost you money too. And are you getting that money back in a positive return? Remember, and this is something I talk about a lot, and you'll hear me talk even more so on the podcast. I was just talking about this. On these live videos, you'll certainly hear me talk about this. You can't be worried about what other photographers are doing. Hands down, it does not matter. The competition is so great that you have to ignore the competition. There is no competition. It's just you and the world, and you going to find those clients and bringing them in under your wing. Because, there are a lot of photographers who would charge $150 an hour, very common, or $125, and there's some they'll charge $25, and you can't compete against them. You can't. You may have to just decide. Look, based on everything I know, I need to charge $200 an hour, hands down. Well, then that's what you do, and you go find the clients who value what you're doing enough to pay you that price. You may have to work a little bit harder to find those clients, but you know what? You probably have to work about as hard as that person charging $25 an hour. But yet you're going to be in business a little bit longer, hopefully a lot longer, because you're covering all of your expenses plus giving yourself an income that you can live off of. And that's the thing. That is why you just have to ignore it. There are photographers who are charging $10,000 a day, $50,000 a day. Why are they doing that? Are they that much better than you? Maybe, but you'd be surprised how many of them have not been around for that long. They have just decided that they have that value, and they're going after the clients that look for that kind of value in a photographer. And of course, in many cases you have to up your game in terms of your style. You have to do the work to get to the style that will help, that will really give people the confidence to pay that amount of money for your work, but it can be done, and many photographers do it. So you need to consider, where are you in this playing field, and then go find those clients without worry of the other photographers, because a lot of, I would say majority of photography business is built off of relationships. And when you build good relationships, those people will refer you. And if they're referring you as a $200 photographer, you're much better off than people going around referring you as a $25 photographer, right? So once you start getting the clients at the certain level where you want to be, they will refer you to their friends who are other people who also pay that money for a photographer of that value. But you have to set yourself. That value, that brand, starts with you and how you develop that brand, your reputation. And so you're in full control of that. You are in full control, and you need to decide where you're going to be in that. Okay, just stepping back for a few moments. Think about all the different things that you could possibly, that could possibly be your expenses in a daily, just simple chalk for a chalkboard right here. That's an expense in my day. Updating my software is an expense. Updating my microphone for me is an expense, because I have to share what I do and my expertise As a photographer, I use a lot of social media. I use live video. I use podcasts. I use my blog. And that all helps to develop my reputation and brand online. And you have to decide what are those things that you need to do. What equipment do you need to upgrade? And if you need to upgrade equipment, maybe you need some better lighting. Well, you need to make sure the money's not going to magically come. You need to consider that expense. To get to where you want to go, you need to price your work so you can eventually, after 2 or 3 more jobs, have enough extra money to go get that new lens, upgrade the camera, or the new lighting that you desperately need to do the type of work you wish to do. All right, put your comments below. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel because this is the place we talk about business, pricing, profitability of your photography. Get the word out. Let's all meet right here on Mondays, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, and let's talk about this as a group. Some of you come in live to take a quick peek and leave. Some of you come in at the replay, and those of you, everyone, put it in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going, and let's build profitable photography businesses. We'll talk to you next time.